Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining in on my stream today. This is going to be the open source, specifically understanding open source repos stream. So glad to see all of you here. Sorry about running a little bit late. We had the previous stream go on for a little bit longer. It was very, very interesting. So I'm glad that it did go on a bit longer, but that's why we started a bit late. So don't worry, that doesn't mean anything negative about the content that we're still going to be covering. We will still be covering all of the content that I planned for today. Speaking of which, we are going to be covering a lot of different contents. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hello, Honorat. Nice to see you after showing up to my mini event streams. Good to see that you're coming for the technical parts too. But we'll be getting started in just a little bit. But like always, make sure that you check in using that check-in link. I have pinned it on the screen. Main reason we ask you to check in is just because we want all of you to be able to get the swag points for attending this workshop because you took your time to be here. So make sure you check in. Hello from Qatar. Good morning. What time is it in Qatar? It is currently 4 p.m. for me. So it's more good afternoon. I guess it's about to be good evening by the end of the stream. Speaking of the end of the stream, about halfway through the stream, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break. And in that 10-minute break, I'm going to transition to a different room. Currently, I'm in a room, but the booking for this room ends in about an hour, so I have to go book another room. So while y'all are taking a water, snack, whatever break, I'm going to go get myself a different room so I can continue streaming for y'all. Oh my God, that is quite early. Thank you for joining us, and I'm sorry that it's so late. Or I guess early, but thank you for joining. Thank you for making the effort to be here. Appreciate it a lot. Been so busy with school and work, but nice to see you again. Oh, you're at Shell Hacks. Guy with the suit on the whole time. I think I remember you. I think were you the one with the kind of like older laptop that was like maybe crashing? I don't know. I don't remember. I think I know who you are. I think there was only one guy in a suit the entire time. But yay! Oh yeah, nice. Yay! Great to see you again. Glad to see that you have joined Global Hack Week. It's definitely very useful. I definitely think this is a good thing to do after Shell Hacks. Shell Hacks was a good, for those of you that don't know, Shell Hacks was a really big hackathon in Florida. Specifically Miami. It was a really fun hackathon. I enjoyed my time there. I was the MLH coach at that event. It was a really great time. So if y'all haven't already, I strongly suggest that you go to some of MLH's hackathons. Let me go and get that link for you. I think it's like a great way to get involved in the community and get to go to more hackathons. So and take the check-in link down if anyone needs it. It's still in the chat, but there is also the list of our events for this year. I know it says 2025, but it also includes the events for 2026 as well. Bunch of events, like so many events happening every week, every weekend. So lots of different opportunities in lots of different states and countries that y'all can go to. So definitely feel free to check that out whenever you get the time. But yeah, we'll get started. So this is mainly a beginner stream, like most of my streams. And this is going to be very catered towards understanding open source, understanding GitHub, and really just getting a better understanding of how open source projects work. Because I think that's a really basic skill to have and something that doesn't really get taught in school. So it's good to have that knowledge and that skill. With that being said, I'm going to do a quick little introduction and take down this check-in link. It's in the comments if y'all need it any longer. But hey, I'm Varshni. I'm a coach at Major League Hacking. I use she, her pronouns. A fun fact about me is that I competitively bike for Rice. I go to Rice University. I'm a student at Rice University, and I can competitively bike for them. So it's quite fun. That's my little cartoon. Yeah, that's my little slide about me. We don't really have like formal slides for today. I just kind of have these as like a filler because if I don't put slides up on the screen, it just like centers on my face, which I'm not a fan of. So we're not going to be doing that. And I'll just have this like filler slide up on the off chance that I'm talking about something and I don't have something to show you for it. So the main purpose of this stream was that when I first got into like open source and GitHub, I didn't really understand what a lot of the files meant. Like there were things like license and like contributing, and like I just didn't know what it meant. So I wanted to do a stream to help y'all kind of understand that. And I want all of you, like hopefully all of you have GitHub accounts, but if you don't, open GitHub in a browser, like sign in with your account. Just go ahead and get GitHub open because we're going to be working a lot in GitHub today. Like you don't have to follow along if you don't want to, but I think the best way to learn is definitely to like do some hands-on work. So go ahead and open up GitHub if you haven't already. I'm sure most of you like have GitHub in your like browser or know how to get there, but if you don't, totally no worries. Here is the link to get to GitHub. There you go. I will pin that for a second. And yeah, click on that link and it'll help you get to GitHub. So starting off with like what open source generally is. I know this is really interesting to be doing on like the second to last day of Global Hack Week, but this is the only time I had available to stream. Ooh, hello, Rice Owl. Hello. I didn't know there were Rice students in the Discord. Hello. I'm curious if I know you in real life. But that's really cool. I'm actually streaming from Fondren. This is the study room. My reservation did not last as long as I was hoping. So, but yeah, let's talk about open source for a little bit. Hopefully y'all have gotten a basic understanding of open source, given that, you know, you've been streaming this entire, or you've been watching streams this entire week. But if you haven't, that's what this stream is for. And first I'm going to start off by explaining a little bit about what open source is. So open source is just software that's like openly available. So like available for anyone to view or modify or share. And open source is not just like software or just plain code. It's kind of this model for collaboration that has been like really nice. We previously would just like kind of work on code by ourselves and keep code proprietary, which we do still do. But we've kind of shifted more into a platform of keeping projects more open source and more collaborative. There's a lot of different open source platforms like GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket is something that I saw earlier today when I was looking at this. So we're just going to be focusing on GitHub for the majority of this workshop, just because that's like the industry standard. That's what everyone's using. And if y'all go to hackathons, most of the time you will see that GitHub is the choice of open source platform. So I'm curious about the level of like beginner level of understanding that y'all have about GitHub and open source. So I'm curious if you have starred or forked a GitHub repo before, can you put a 1 in the chat? And if you haven't, can you put a 2? I'm just curious to see what y'all's overall understanding of GitHub is. If you don't know what forked or starred means, totally no worries at all. That's the point of this lecture. Let's see. Okay, a 1. Okay, very cool. Good. I see a 2. Very good, very good. I see another 1. Okay, so it's looking pretty split right now. But yeah, it's good that y'all have started forked GitHubs. If you don't know what that is, that's exactly what we're going to be going over. Honorat says 1. Good. First time I did it was actually at the hackathon. Yeah, that's good. That's actually a really key use case of hackathons and why hackathons are so useful, because they help you get into a lot of the developer stuff that you'll need to be doing when you are in your job, in your career, beyond the years of college. So it's good that you're using that because you will definitely keep using that throughout your life. Tammy says, I starred and forked one just 1 week ago. Very good, very good. Very glad to hear that. That is good. Varun asks how many challenges we have to complete to be eligible for swags. So I think that depends. To be honest, I'm not the best person to ask about swag questions. I mainly just stream for Global Hack Week, but I can check that for you right now because I'm sure somebody has asked that question before. To win swag, you have to complete all of the featured challenges on ghw.mlho /challenges. The daily email that is sent to your email daily helps lead you to the steps that you need for the swags. I think Best Galen has got it on the nose here. MongoDB, Figma, and GitHub Dev Pack. Yes, those are going to be the eligible challenges, specifically the feature challenges that you'll need to complete to be able to access that swag. Let me double check to see if there's anything else you need to do. Yeah, I think that's just it. The points are for additional swag, but for basic hacker swag, you need to be completing those featured challenges. So hopefully that helped. I'm gonna move on to the rest of the stream. But cool to see the understanding of GitHub from y'all. That is very nice. Yes. To be eligible for basic swag, only feature challenges is enough, but if you want more than that, you should complete more of the challenges. And also the challenges aren't just for us. They're mainly to help you get a better understanding of different partner technologies and different technologies that you can use in your future as well. So not really saying it as more of a do it for the swag, but do it for the knowledge that you'll gain from that, but also do it for the swag because you get swag. So let's actually open up a sample and a sample of a open source repo that we can click into and mess around with a little bit. I usually open a separate profile for streams so that I don't accidentally dock myself. So let me log into GitHub because I'm not signed into anything. Because I think I did that accidentally on one stream. I was switching back and forth between 2 tabs and I exposed some personal information. So now I'm a bit more careful. Okay, so I'll paste the link in chat once I make sure this is good. But basically, we're just going to be going to a public APIs repo to check it out for a little bit. But go ahead and navigate over to this tab. No worries if you're unable to. That's what screen sharing is for, and that's what I'm going to be screen sharing for. So that is the link that you'll need. And let me go ahead and share my screen. Hello, hello. You are new here, just starting out. It's really exciting to see what's going on here. Great. Glad to see that you are joining us in for this stream. I love hearing from newbies, love hearing from people that are discovering Global Hack Week for the first time. Let us know if you need anything, and we're here for you. While I'm screen sharing, I can't see the chat, but I switch back and forth between the chat and my screen very frequently. So if you need something, please let me know. But basically, this is a public repository that we can look at just for like understanding purposes and for explaining purposes. So you can see like the repo name, which is this, or this. This is the person's name. This is the repo's name, public dash APIs. And then you have the person who uploaded it. You've got like the description, like the star count, which is like the amount of people that have started, have forked it. So lots of different things that you can see. And like right here, we've got the README file, and this is your starting point in every single open source project that you'll ever do. And the reason for this is like because it's literally called README. It is done for the purpose of making people read it so that you can get information about the project without just like, what does this project do? And this file basically explains like what the project does, how do you use the code in the project, and how you can contribute to the code in the project. So like if we click on the README, we can see like the how it's structured. And like it's super clean. It's got this like overall description, and then it's got like a list and like a format. It's really nice. So whenever you're visiting like a new repo, whether or not you know like what the content is, the README is always going to be your kind of like source of truth for understanding what that repo does. Yeah. And a little bit about like the key files in this repo. There's lots of different files here, but I think the most important like recurring ones that you'll see after repo or after README, like we just talked about, is the license file. So this license file is just going to tell you like what you can and can't do with the code. And like what that means is like people put code publicly so that other people can use it. The license file just tells you how you can use it. So like you can use it in commercial projects, can use it in personal projects, like can you edit it, can you send it to other people, like all of these rules would be within the license so that you can understand how you can use other people's work within their boundaries. So we can like actually click on it and like look at the license file. And immediately the first line you see is MIT license. So this is one of the most like permissible, which just means like allow the most amount of permissions for open source licenses. MIT's license basically just says like do whatever you want, just include the original license and we'll be totally fine. Some other like really common licenses are like Creative Commons, Apache 2.0, and each of them have different levels of permissiveness or openness, which just means how much access they allow for their code. So, have y'all ever seen a license before? And if you have, what type have you seen? I'm curious. Because I know a lot of you were saying you were twos, so maybe you've forked and you've starred before. If you have forked and starred, I'm sure that you've seen licenses, or hopefully you've come up with some of your own in your files. I'd love to hear what types you've done. But Tammy says, I wondered what MIT license meant, has seen around a lot. Yeah, this is the exact purpose of this stream, so that y'all actually know what it is. Because I think that a lot of people in tech and in the dev space in general don't really know like basics. They know enough to like code and to like pull and things like that, but basics around like what the MIT license is, like what isn't README, like actually what should include, I think are all like very often skipped over, but it's important to have that knowledge. And I say this because I like didn't know what it was either when I was starting out. I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like I'm not going to use it, but obviously you need your own license. Ooh, Ethan says I've used GNU GPL v3 for my own passion projects. Okay, very cool. That is a good license. I don't know like the specifics of like how restrictive it is, but hopefully it is more useful to you than MIT's license. Best Galen says, I actually haven't at all. I just know basics like you didn't agree me, but license, yeah. This is another thing with like most people don't really use licenses unless they expect that other people will use their code. Like kind of something you can see here is like or actually not in this license file, but here in the top, they had 370,000 stars and 38.9 forks, which means a lot of people are using this person's code. And this is an example of when you would want to have a license so that you can protect your code and kind of like protect your property. But like if it's a hackathon project, something you're doing personal, something that like is kind of on the download just for you, a lot of people don't have licenses just because it's not really needed, since no one's really trying to contribute or like use your code specifically. yeah, that's what a license is. And like we can also like we'll cover a little bit like how to choose a license, like if you decide to work on your own project. Because like while I say that MIT's license is like the overarching general one that most people use, it's definitely not the only one that people use. Lots of different options are available. So that's that file. And then like it's not here, but like in this GitHub specifically. But some GitHubs will have like a code of conduct.md file. And that just like it's kind of similar to the license. I think the license is more like legalese, like you cannot do this, but the code of conduct is more just like how people should behave, so that they're like being respectful of the person that created this code. And sometimes you'll see like a contributor covenant template. And that just means like all that means is just it's a standard template that's been adopted by a lot of people, because it's like a standard contributor template that like most people in the open source community agree with, and it's just like a list of things that people are okay to do and a list of things that people are not okay to do. Yeah, just treat everyone with respect. That's what that one means. And then you've got this contributing.md file. So y'all have definitely seen this one for sure. But this one is like really good because it tells you how to contribute. So some of you who are at hackathons, maybe on the beginner side, might not have a contributing.md file. And that's totally okay. The main reason why you don't have it is because like when you're at that hackathon, you're just more stressed about like, will I finish my project? Like, will it be good enough for the judging? Everything is always good enough for judging. You never know until you try. But the main reason why people do contributing.mds is because if a project is super complex and it's good for other people to continue editing on that project, and keep reiterating over that, then that is a perfect use of the contributing file. So yeah, it basically just tells you how you can contribute to this code. So like it'll explain how you can set up the environment, how to submit pull requests, and just like what the maintainers of that repo expect. And also, if any of these words are unclear to you, just ask me. I will be covering like every single one of these words and what they mean. But if there's something like in the moment that confuses you, just let me know, and we can talk about it. But yeah, that's an example. And you can see like even in this one, like it tells you like what the format is, like how like a lot of pull requests are appreciated, but some are specifically for like marketing paid solutions. And like, they mention a couple of different things like how to do pull requests, which is pretty cool. I think this one's like very fun because it's not just like a personal project, it's also something that other actual companies are contributing to. So it's nice to see that. But yeah, if you don't know like how to start contributing to a repo, that's going to be the file for you. I think contributing to a repo really helps you out with like having more code under your belt and having more understanding of code under your belt. So yeah, that's what the main purpose of that file is. Another really important file that you can have is the security.md file. I'm not sure if you have it in, yeah, you don't have it in this repo, but sometimes you'll have a security.md file. And this is for more large scale projects that maybe other people rely on or other people use. The main reason I say that is just because we use these files to help us have guidelines for how we can report like vulnerabilities or how we can like report bugs without just like explicitly saying them. Like although transparency is good, sometimes with bigger companies you want to be able to report a bug without like having to deal with the it's not outlash. Is it outlash? Outrage? Maybe backlash? Backlash, that's what it is. Without having to deal with the backlash of public when they realize that you kind of messed something up. So if you look at like larger organizations, maybe like Microsoft or Google, and if you look at their open source projects, most of them have a file structure that includes the security file, because that protects both like the customers, which is us, and also the company itself. Do other. You also can have a support.md file. That is like, again, just like a lot of these files help you figure out like how to use the project as a user. So the support The support.md file helps tell users like where they need to get help. Also, sorry I'm yawning so much. I don't know why I'm so tired. I did wake up a bit early today, which is on me, but usually not this tired regardless of how early I wake up. So apologies for the yawning. And then kind of the last thing I wanted to cover was sometimes you have this like funding.yml file, and that file is like not for like y'all that are going to hackathons or like kind of more personal projects, but this is for people that contribute a lot or need a lot of money to keep their project going, meaning that like maybe they need credits or something like that, or like data storage money. So it basically just connects the repo to GitHub sponsors or Patreon, which is like this company that like helps you fundraise for your org, and it just helps the people that are maintaining the code financially. Like open source is not like free. I mean, like it is free for people to use, but through programs like the funding.yml and like GitHub sponsors, we're able to help the people that help us with the code. So yeah, that's what the funding.yml form is for. And now just to like kind of take a step back from the individual files, talking about the repo structure is also really important. Like not every repo is going to look the same, but there are going to be common folders that you'll find in most repos that'll help you understand a little bit more about the project. So you usually have like the project name, and then you have like SRC, maybe you have tests, docs, and then you have like .github. And then you have like all these other files that I talked to you about. So we'll go over each of these, like what each of these mean. So specifically the SRC file folder, which is the source code, I'm sure most of you have heard that term, that actually holds our like code, like our actual code. And tests is going to contain test cases, and then docs holds documentation. I think those are pretty self-explanatory. Hello, is this you, Vincent? I feel like I've seen that last name before. I feel like that's your last name. But hello, welcome in. So those are those specific files. And then you also have this .github section, and that's where you'll find like issue templates and the GitHub action workflows, which is how GitHub uses its workflows to kind of process your code. It is you. Hello, Vincent. Hello. Hope your stream before went well. It looked like it was quite busy, and it looked like people were having fun. So hope it went well. But yeah. That's the main reason, like the main kind of sections of what we cover. And it's nice to have like templates in place so that you don't have to deal with that. But yeah. Ooh, I think an important topic to cover with open source is issues and pull requests. So there is an issues tab on this website. You can see it right here. And basically this issues tab is just like users, so public facing people like you and me, and also contributors, people that are actually contributing to the code, can discuss bugs. They can ask for features. So people will do like feature requests, which is like you request something that you want to see in that project, or like docs updates. Like maybe you updated a specific file and you wanted to let the community know about it. You can filter like by specific labels that you see this tab labels here. You can filter by those labels. And these are like really good starting points so that you can kind of see like what different features are available, maybe what bugs are available. So like if you're having a problem maybe with, let me see what an example I can find is. Maybe you're having a problem with like broken link. You can click on that and then it'll show you like, oh, okay, I guess there's no results. Haha. Maybe this one? Nothing? Damn. Okay, well, usually the labels filter out for some certain projects. And you can find like a lot of different issues. And these issues can help you find new features and find bugs too. So once you pick a specific issue, your next step, like to contributing, is to create a pull request or a PR. That's what most people call it. I think it's confusing because pull request and push request are two different things, but they're both like the first letter, so like kind of initials of both is PR. So I think it can be quite confusing, but I think it also makes sense. So The PR, the pull request, all it does is it's comparing your current branch. Branch just kind of means like what code you're editing on right now, and it compares that with the main branch. It has a description, and it basically just shows the differences line by line. So if you've ever used GitHub Copilot or you've used another like IDE, and you've seen the changes in the lines of code, like maybe the green versus red, that's the differences in the lines, like line by line. So whoever is maintaining the code, meaning like the person in charge of going over the code and the person in charge of like hence maintaining, they will basically review your code. So they're going to look at the issue, then they're going to fork it, they'll do a branch, they'll do a pull request, they'll review that, and then they'll merge your branch with their branch. And that's basically the workflow for like almost everything in open source. Oh, I think I need some coffee. I'm like falling asleep. Usually I don't fall asleep in cold rooms. This room's very cold, but I'm tired. Anyways, we can also just like fork a repo, make a quick edit, and then also do a pull request. So like, let's say we wanted to do this, for example. So feel free to follow along with me if you would like. I think it's a great way to get on some hands-on experience. I'll put that link in chat. Coffee, yes, I need coffee. I'm sleepy. Here is our GitHub link. Make sure you hop onto that one. So we're going to click on this fork button, and we're going to click fork, like literally just fork. And it's going to show you like the new repo name, and it'll ask you like what the description is, if you want to copy the master branch. I'm going to keep all of this. If you want to change the name or change the description, definitely feel free. I'm not going to because I don't really need to. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to click create fork. And it's going to create a separate section of this folder, basically is what it's doing. So now you can see that instead of having like the old person's username and their repo, now it's my repo under my name, but you can still see where it was forked from, so that like people don't think you just got it out of thin air or you made it, because really you like used somebody else's code. So not that it's bad, it's just like a fact. So now that we've done that, we're going to add a file, and then we're going to edit a file. So here we have add file, and then we're going to, actually we're just going to currently edit it. We'll go to the README. So this is our personal like kind of changes, and we're going to go to README, and we can make something like we can add a small little note. So it's got the API layer. Oh, not editable. Okay, I didn't click on the right thing. But yeah, let's like add a little note to the top. Maybe we'll do like GHW stream, yay. And then we're going to commit changes. Commit basically just means you have changes locally, and now you're going to commit them to this online website and be able to have your information like kind of committed to like memory / like to the website. That's what we use commit for. So we're going to commit that code, and that's like kind of our first step in being able to like contribute to open source. I'm going to commit directly to the master branch, and I'm going to click commit. It has committed the changes, and then I can go ahead and go back to my code since I have committed that change. And here it says this branch is one commit ahead of this thing. So here you click on this contribute thing, and it says this branch is one commit ahead. Basically that means is I have this old URL that I used, but now I've committed, and it's one commit ahead of the old code since I added a commit. So here I'm going to click create pull request, and this will be able to take that code and add something specifically. So I'm not actually going to create the pull request because that was a pretty useless change. And it's also, they're going to be looking at me like, what's GHW? So I'm not going to commit it, but that's how you would do it. You would click create pull request, and it would hence create pull request. You can see the edit changes, but they're not going to approve that, so I'm not going to do that. Even if you like change something, so like open source is supposed to be collaborative, so even if there's like a typo or like a missing comma or something like that, if you change that, that's like the entire purpose of a commit, and like a contribution in general. So there's a lot of different ways that people can maintain repos. When you like get this pull request, open this pull request, people, these maintainers specifically, will review your code. They will run these tests that are automated. Basically, these tests just help you and work you through this process. And if you need changes, like maybe something doesn't have the intended effect that you wanted it to, or it's not working how they think, then they'll leave comments if they need changes. So many open source like repos will use GitHub Actions under the specific spot, for example. So let's go back. Okay. Here we have this specific section that says GitHub workflows. Well, it just says GitHub. We do -GitHub, and then we see workflows here. And this workflows, like they'll have this thing. You see, it says like test to push and pull, test to validate package. So they use these tests to test every contribution. And that's the main reason why they do them. So that way they're able to check if these contributions, these pushes that people are making are even valid in the first place. Because if they're not, there's kind of like no point of doing them in the first place. So yeah, you can like look at the different actions files and be able to see the use of them. So for example, we can go back and like we can see any of these are YMLs, and we can see like test of push and pull. So you can see it like goes through the code for that. Oh, looks like my StreamYard is not loading. Let me try that. Hello, hello. Sorry about the interruption. My Wi-Fi is not good. Ooh, Wei is here. Hello, Wei. If anybody sent any comments, I don't think my computer loaded them. So, anyone had any questions, please? Oh no, it's doing it again. Ah. Hello. I think this is my fault for trying to. No, I've always used Google Chrome for streams. I don't know why it's glitching. I don't even know if y'all can hear me or see me. Like, I don't know how this works. Yeah, I'm really hoping that it's working. This is quite sad. I will not lie. Sorry, y'all. I mean, I can keep talking, but I don't know if anyone's hearing me. It's like the screen's not even loading. Ah, this is not good. I'm gonna reload StreamYard one more time. Let's see if that works. Oh, okay, it's back. It's back. You're not late for the face reveal. As you can see, my face is actually on the screen. So, okay, good. Yay! Everyone can see. Yay! Hopefully the Wi-Fi gets a little bit better, but good to see that it's working for now. Yeah, if anyone sent any questions before or any comments, please let me know, because I did in fact leave and that did not work. So, okay, Yeah, I was talking about the GitHub actions. So let me go back and start sharing screen again, show you all the GitHub actions. Welcome back. Thank you. I appreciate it. I have completed all the quests, but unable to complete. I think this is about the challenges, I believe. Let me check that out for you if there is a magic challenge. That sounds wrong. Oh no, I opened it up in a new tab. Okay, GitHub magic challenge. I see the student developer pack. Ooh, complete the GitHub Copilot magic quest. Screenshot of certificate. Okay. Well, if you could give me some more details about why you've been unable to complete that quest, I could help you out a little bit more. But it just says to click on that link and upload a screenshot. So if you have anything else, any more context that you can provide, that would be great. But yay, I'm glad to see that it's working again. Okay, so back to kind of the YMLs and what I was talking about before. So this is an example of a push and pull YML, and this basically just makes sure that like all the workflows that it's automatically running. So like I probably wouldn't have passed because it didn't have any description. It was just like a basic one. And this just ensures that all of the contributions that we have incoming are meeting our quality and also our style standards. So it's really important for them to have this automation. The main reason they do it is because they can't do all of these actions to like manually and look at like all these pull requests. Like we saw about, what was it, like 70K pull requests. So that's a lot. And it's definitely like very easy for it to become unmanageable over time, hence why they do automate it. Yeah, so kind of beyond just like in general contributing, it's always important to read that README and read the contributing and like make really clear commit messages. If you don't have those, then it's going to be really difficult for other people to kind of leave a paper trail. Sometimes like as you work on a project, you might be tempted to just keep working on it, but it's always really good to commit in increments and to be able to have specific comments on your commits so that people and you can see like what specific changes were made for commits. Like a lot of kind of the like general notion of thinking is like every task that you work on should be its own commit, and that commit should come with its own description as well. If y'all have GitHub Copilot can also help you write some commit messages. So if you're having trouble with like, oh, I don't really know how to go through this commit message or like how to make the best commit message, then you can always ask GitHub Copilot or your preferred choice of AI. GitHub Copilot is very, very nice though. Okay, some other stuff that we can talk about is like specific things in READMEs. So you can also look for badges in READMEs. I think that is a really good indicator of like what can help. So there's not really a badge here. I wonder if I can find a README with a badge. But some READMEs, actually, you could probably find like personal profile READMEs. GitHub README personal. Let's go on Reddit and click on some random person's profile. There you go. Okay. Okay, in hindsight, that probably wasn't the best. Oh, it's not screen sharing. Wonderful. Yeah, okay. I accidentally opened up the tab separately. Oh no! Oh, my big face is on screen. I don't like that. Okay. Let's go back to do. It's a process. Okay, this is another example of an online repo. And so this is an example of someone's README. So I think there was a stream about this earlier, making, let me check the GHW schedule. There was definitely a stream about using GitHub Copilot to edit your README. I'm not delusional. I do believe this happened at some point. Aha! Supercharge your GitHub profile. Yeah, this is the name of it. If anyone is curious, we do have YouTube. All the streams are live on YouTube and they're all recorded, so you can always go back and watch them. But yeah, someone did do a stream about how to supercharge your GitHub profile and build a dynamic profile README. So if this is something that looks interesting to you or sounds interesting to you, definitely make sure you go ahead and check out those videos because that's why we made them for you. So yeah, this is an example of a really cool README. They have these badges at the top, and these badges are basically just like small icons that show different things, like what your license is, like what the community is, like number of pull requests, issues, and things like that. And I think it's really cool to have this as your personal README, just because a lot of times when you share your GitHub profile with someone, it's depending on how far you are in your developer journey, it can be really hard to get a like concise view of information that you can have from somebody. So I think it's pretty useful to be able to have all of this information in one place. So you can like see this project is like definitely like has a lot of work to it. You can also see like their commit history. So this is something that people will look at hackathons to see like how often you've been committing your code, how often you've been looking and like working on your project. You see the commit history, like all of these commits from all these people. And yeah, you can always look at the last commit date. Like this one looks a little bit outdated. It looks like the last commit was in 2022, October 9th, so almost 3 years ago. So it looks like it's been a little bit inactive for a couple of years. So maybe before you contribute to this repo, you find something else that is a little bit more recent. And the reason I say that is because when you're contributing to something, you're like kind of putting your work into that, and you want to be contributing to something that other people are contributing on. Because if they're not, then you're kind of just working by yourself, which isn't as fun in my opinion. Oh, okay. I guess some like kind of important steps that you should follow when you're going through people's code is like we talked about the license. It's really important that if you're contributing that you don't skip that license file. Like we can see what this person's license is, because this is their only way that they will be able to kind of keep their code that they're own. So it also looks like I honestly haven't seen this that often before. So maybe they added this in new, or maybe it's just been a while since I looked at a license. But they had this little tab at the top that shows you the permissions and the limitations and conditions. Looks like none exist for this specific license, but it does look nice. They're explaining like what the different permissions are and what the limitations are, which I think is pretty useful because that way you know like exactly what you're getting into and you don't have to lead this like gigantic. Okay, it's not that big, but like there's a lot of legal jargon. So you can have this top level overview of that. And yeah, I don't see any other files that are like super important to talk about here. So we can also talk about file structure too for when you're structuring out your code. Oh, check out my MIT license. Okay, let's go check it out. Wait, I'm hoping for your sake that this does not redirect to something sketchy, because this is going to be screen shared. Actually, maybe I'll click on it before I screen share. Okay, it is not sketchy. Good to go. Oh, I opened up random tabs. No. Okay. Okay, I just can't move the tabs. This is the problem. Okay, this is the MIT license from Way, apparently. Very nice. This is an example. Fork this project to create your own MIT license. Oh, that's cool. So remember, I was talking about MIT licenses earlier, and that's really cool that you can make your own. You can probably just fork Way's project if you're interested in that. MIT licenses are probably one of the most, or like one of the more unrestricted licenses that you can use. So definitely check that out if you're interested. Ask Way for some help if you would like some, because it looks like he's got the understanding of that. And also just for file structure for code. So like kind of going back to like this, you should keep the important files that we talked about. It's like README, contributing, license. You should have all of that, like kind of following the same name convention. You shouldn't call it something like super out of the ordinary. And you should keep them like kind of out here. So that everyone can see them before like having to click into a million different folders throughout your project. So you'll see like a lot of people, even if they have a bunch of folders in their project that separate out different parts of the code, they'll always have those files separate. And that's just for like organizational purposes. And it helps keep track of kind of like your structure as well. Then also you want to group related code into folders. A lot of these organizational tips that I'm helping you or telling you is probably something that you already know, but I think it's nice to have it repeated just because I feel like GitHub repos are very important in order to be organized because if they're not organized, it's very difficult to code and also to be able to contribute with that. So yeah, group your code into related folders and also have like a -docs or a /docs folder if you have any setup instructions or any API references so that you can share those documents in one place. Also, when you're naming files, I know it can be tempting to just do like one-.py, two-.py, but you want to have descriptive names and describe what each of your files means. And also sometimes people will have this thing called like .gitignore. I think that was in the other GitHub to do that we were looking at. Yeah. Yeah, here, this one, it has a .gitignore. So you might have seen this one too. And this one, this .gitignore is done so that you can exclude any temporary files that were created, any logs or any secrets. So you can see like they want you to like ignore these logs, ignore these like different tests. It does like nothing important, just stuff that needs to be used to run the file, but nothing that needs to be like publicly exposed. Similarly, like that's why people hide environments too. I think this is a critical mistake. I see a lot of hackathons and something I'm like constantly trying to tell people not to do. But never expose your environment file because your environment file is where you'll have sensitive information like your API keys. So if you're ever at an MLH hackathon and you generated a Gemini API key, please do not ever push your environment file to GitHub because then your API key will be available for everybody to see. And then people can start using your API key and you will not have rates or you will not have requests anymore. You will have reached your rate limit and you will also be very sad because it might start charging you and nobody wants that. So always make sure that you don't contribute your environment files. And yeah, that's like the main reason why a good structure is recommended so that you can have everything organized. All of these repos that we've been looking at have been pretty organized and have all of their code within like one file or a couple files. So it's pretty nice. And also, I guess just like common etiquette about how we do pull requests and how we go through issues as well. For issues specifically, like this tab, were issues you should not like create like there's this tab, it says new issue and you can like write, describe, create, etc. But you want to search for your issues before you create them just because you don't want to have duplicate issues, which is why we use those things like labels. We can like search through these different things. We can like search, it's like open, closed. So make sure you look through both open and closed so that you don't accidentally mention something that's already been fixed. And yeah, use like super clear titles, make it very clear what your error is. This is all for like contributing to other people's projects. So if there is something wrong, you want to make it as clear as possible what's wrong so that they can help you with it. And yeah, include some context, explain like what the bug was, how you reproduce the bug. This is something you'll see a lot with like any sort of like bugs found during the engineering process. You like always have to be able to show how you can reproduce this bug because it's one thing for it to happen to you, but like if it's happening in a situation that can be reproduced for other people, it's definitely something that should be investigated and looked at further. Yeah, so it is important to test your pull request. It's important to look through your pull request and make sure it's good before you submit it because it can be very annoying for the maintainers who maintain the repo to like look through your pull request and you haven't even tested it before. Like it can be quite annoying. And also, I think I mentioned the term branches before. So let me explain a little bit about what branches are. When you fork a repository and you're opening a pull request, you should always create a branch instead of committing it directly to main. And basically what that means is like a branch is kind of just a separate, like it's all of the code, but it's not the main code. If you commit it directly to main, then it's like kind of creates these problems that you don't want to have with code that's not yours. You always want to be able to commit to that branch so that you can keep all of your code like localized to that branch. Yeah. Those are kind of like, that's a quick summary of like best practices and general things that we should look at for READMEs and for understanding GitHub profiles. So now we're going to take a quick 10-minute break. So feel free to go get a snack, feel free to go get some water, just hang out for a bit. I'll play some music. The main reason we're taking this break is just because I have to go transition rooms and I can't keep my camera on and keep talking while I do that. So I'm gonna go switch rooms and I will be back in 10 minutes. And hopefully y'all have a nice restful break. See you on the other side. Bye-bye. Okay, hello. We are back from our break. Actually, the chat just like disappeared for me. So, to be honest, I have no idea when we started our break. I think it was around 5:07 p.m. Or yeah, I think it was 10. I think it was close enough to 10 minutes ago. I think that if I was able to like go upstairs and downstairs and check out a new room and come all the way back up, I think that was 10 minutes. I feel like I definitely was not quicker than that. So welcome back. Hopefully y'all had a very restful and enjoyable break. I see that Wei sent 1, 2, and 3. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you can enlighten me, but hello. Thank you. Welcome back to everyone else as well. Thank you for coming back. Yeah, Wei, would you like to tell me what 1, 2, and 3 means? Because I don't know what that means. I don't know if there was context. What did y'all do on your break? I'm curious. Did anyone actually take a break, or were y'all just sitting at your computers and waiting? You counted to 600. My interest dropped. I don't think my interest dropped. I think yours did. Because you stopped at 3. That wasn't my fault. Internet, I mean. Oh, really? You counted to 600? Wait, there's no way you spammed the Twitch chat all the way to 600. I don't buy that. Ethan says they were working on updating my GitHub repo wiki for my passion project. Ooh, good. Okay. Hopefully this stream has been useful in helping you understand some more concepts about what you're updating. But what is your passion project? That sounds super cool. I feel like you've mentioned your passion project a couple of times. Very interested, very curious to see what that is. Okay. But I have a couple more concepts that I wanted to cover with y'all before we head out. And most of them were just mainly around commands in Git. So I think the first half was more about what Git as a website is and like how to actually use Git or GitHub. But now I want to talk a little bit more about like commands that you can use in GitHub to help you use your local code and then extend that to online. Yeah, Wei is correct. That is awesome. If you would like to share your project, we would more than love. Ooh, I see a link. Okay, let me type that link in and we can all look at this amazing project together. Open recipe database. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, looks like I double clicked on the column. No, totally chill. If it's a work in progress, are you okay if I screen share and show everybody? Or do you want to keep it secret? I can just look at it without showing everybody too. Up to you. Okay. Yay. Let's see. This looks very cool already, but I'm sure everyone else is going to see that too. Very cool. So we've got our commits. I love that we see a 37 minutes ago commit. We love to see an active GitHub. Work in progress. See, I like this. This is very good. This is like explicitly stating that it's not done yet, which I think is good. Ooh, already exists an open source recipe database software. Okay. Optical character recognition. Very cool. I like this diagram. I think sometimes people create projects and it's really hard to understand how the project works. I like this diagram. This is very cool. Yes, I think you talked about this earlier, that it was a GNU GPL license. Very cool, very cool. Looks like you're working on this. Oh, there's another contributor, very nice. Lots of different languages, very cool. Let's see if we can find some more information about that license. Hmm. Yes, so this one, yeah, patent rights, private use, limitations, no liability, warranty. Very cool. Yeah, so this is another example of a license that y'all can use and check out if you're interested in using licenses for your GitHub project specifically. But like I was saying, let's talk a little bit about different commands that you can use. I'm basically just going to be yapping about commands. So if anything is confusing or doesn't sound like something that you've used, let me know. I am checking the chat since I'm literally just on the chat right now. But yeah, let me know. But very cool project, Ethan. This is super cool. I'm gonna, oh, back to my face. Okay. I made this filler slide because I made the content for this stream and did not have the graphical talent to make slides as well. So now we have a filler slide, and we're just going to be talking about different Git commands. So there's Git init. I think Git init is usually what everyone starts out with. And I wonder if there's like maybe like a fun graphic that could go along with this because I feel bad. I feel like the filler slide is quite sad. Okay, there's a fun little graphic that I found. This is not my graphic, disclaimer. I did not create this. I just copied it from Substack, apparently. Okay. There you go. Yeah, so this is a list of cool commands. I'll go through them. So like I was saying, git init is what you start out with. That basically just makes a brand new GitHub or Git repo in your like current local folder on your computer. It makes this like hidden .git directory that tracks changes to your file. So you'll hear that a lot. You'll hear like tracking changes or like this file is tracking changes. And all that means is just that it's ooh, okay, sorry. Ooh. Oh, okay. All that means is that it's editing through your different files and it's making note of what changes you make. Sorry for that little mishap. I was trying to decrease the height on my chair and then I shot myself to the ground. So I was a little confused, but that's okay. Git init is not a command that you should be reusing multiple times. You really should only be using that once per project. You don't need to like re-init every time you open up your folder because init means initialize. So you shouldn't be doing that every time you run your code. Then you can also do git clone and then put the repo's URL. So that is really useful and that makes a full copy of like any repo from GitHub onto your computer. So you would use this if you want to work on someone else's project or your own repo that's hosted on GitHub. So this is kind of similar to the other commands we were looking at, but this helps us bring this locally to our computer. And it basically just sets up like a remote connection that's called origin, and that will just point back to the original repo that you cloned from. Okay. Yeah, some of these commands aren't needed. This is just like a fun graphic for y'all to look at while I talk about some of the more important commands. But if there's a command on here that I don't cover that you're interested in, definitely let me know and we can talk about it. But next, we can do git branch. Git branch kind of uses that concept we were talking about earlier, branches, hence branch in the name. But git branch is very useful because it shows all of the different branches in your repo, and it highlights what branch you're currently working on with an asterisk. So it'll return with a specific asterisk on the branch that you're on. We talked about the benefits of branches, but we mainly use branches just to be able to develop different features in your code without like breaking your entire code, which is why I said you should commit to the branch instead of being able to commit straight to the main branch. TIL origin means original repo. That makes so much sense. Okay, I'm glad that worked out for you. I'm glad you understood. Then you can also, you don't have to do just git branch. You can also do git branch and then put a name of branch. It's going to create a new branch, but it's not going to switch into it. So I think something that people do a lot when they're like starting off with branches and starting off with committing code is that they'll like create the branch, but then forget to switch into it afterwards. So your new commits are still going to that old branch instead of the new branch. So definitely make sure that you are clicking on that instead and making sure that you have that as well. Then you can also have git add, and then you can do the file name. So most of these commands are like very basic for being able to work on a file locally and then be able to commit it externally. So git add basically stages like kind of puts it on the stage, gets it ready. And it does this for a specific file, the file name that you put. And it's basically just telling Git that when you're committing next, you're also going to add this next file to your code. So you could do like git add index.html, and that would get this file ready to be able to add to your code. Well, he says git checkout b branch name will create branch and switch at the same time. Very useful. Yeah, well, there is a pro tip from Way that if you do that, you will be able to create a branch and switch at the same time. So since we didn't really cover this, couple of helpful, explanation of what this is. Git checkout, and if you put git checkout in the name, that switches your directory that you're currently working in to the branch that you're specifying. So what that means is like you're working in a directory, like a file directory, and you want to switch to a specific branch. So when you're switching branches, Git will update your files to match whatever that branch state is. So you always have to make sure you commit before switching, because otherwise your unsafe work may be overwritten. And yeah, you do checkout -b. -b specifically, like Wei was saying, that will create and switch to a new branch in one command, which is really useful because like I was mentioning, like it's kind of sad when you do git branch and then you do name, and then you don't switch into it. But if you do git checkout -b and then you put the name, then you'll be able to create and switch to that new branch. So it's like a really nice shortcut, because then that way you don't have to run git branch and then git checkout separately. You can just run them in the same command. So yes, very helpful tip. If y'all have any other helpful tips, definitely feel free to drop them. But yes, that's git add. And also you can add multiple different files as long as you do spaces. So you can do like git add, and then you can do index.html, and then you can also do like a space, and then you can do as style.css or something like that, so that you can get multiple files ready to add. And then you can also do git add period. So this will stage all of the new files or the changed files in the current like folder or subfolders. It's really important not to use this just like blindly. I think sometimes it's easy if you're like working on multiple different files and you just don't want to deal with like adding each individual file. You might want to do git add period, but it's important not to do this too often, especially if you're working with like secret files, because sometimes it can include like temporary files that you put in your git ignore or like secret files. So it's always important to check with git status. Git status tells you exactly what you've changed and what it's going to add and commit. Don't panic 321 asks. I actually like that username. It's like don't panic, but then you start counting down 3, 2, 1. That's funny. Let's say we want to clone someone's repo to your local machine. Is it necessary to use a virtual machine or Vend or Docker to run it in isolation? No, it is not. Literally, all you have to do is open up an IDE, so like VS Code, for example, and then you just do git clone, put in the URL, and boom, you are good to go. Sometimes you have to specify what file you want to clone or what file directory you want to clone it into, but you don't have to run a virtual machine if you don't want to. People usually run virtual environments because they might be working on a project that requires you to install a couple different, maybe like languages or a couple different, I guess, programs that they don't want running on their local computer, but they want anyways. So that's what people use the virtual environment for. But you can always clone directly to your local machine without using any of those. Hopefully that helped. Then after you're done with git add, you will do git commit. So we talked about commit, but with doing this locally, you also have to add a message. So I talked about always adding a message like online, but when you're running it locally, you have to do this manually. Yes, of course, glad it helped. So you do git commit dash n, and then you use double quotes to describe your messages. So like I was saying, each commit has to come with a message, and that's what you're using in this specific function. So you have to like try to use like very clear, very short messages as much as possible. Because you're gonna have a bunch of commits and they're gonna have a bunch of messages, and it's really important to keep that clean. So mention like what you fixed and like what you are doing, what file you're doing. A couple of like I guess pieces of terminology that are used often with Git is like fix. If you're fixing like any bugs, you can do feat, not feat like the body part, but feat like FEAT. So like the beginning of the word features for any new features that you're adding to your code. You can do docs for any documentation that you're updating, and then you can do refactor for code improvements. So these are all like suggestions that help you make your commit messages a little bit shorter and a little bit easier to read. None of them are required, but they do help with making your code a little bit more readable. I use git clone flag to build open source libraries for HPC frameworks. Very cool, very cool. Love seeing different uses of Git. Love seeing people on their developer journeys. I think developing is very cool, and it's a very unique process. There's a lot of different ways to do it. So I love hearing about how y'all are using Git and how you're progressing. But that's the main, and then you'll obviously do like git push. Git push basically, or actually before we do git push, let's talk about git remote. If you want to sync your local changes with GitHub, you want to do git remote and git remote -v specifically. And this is going to show you all of the URLs of all of the remote links that are linked to your repo. So usually like when it says origin, that'll refer to the GitHub repo that you cloned from. So like if you clone from like Bob's repo or the public APIs repo that we were looking at before, it'll show that. So if you fork a repo, your forked URL will be that origin, and then you can just keep adding repos for any updates you have. So after that, you can also use git push. Git push is what does upload your like local branches commits to that remote repo on GitHub. That's kind of like the final command that you'll do to get your local changes up. Great tips, check out conventional commit message formats. Yeah. It is really important to have good commit messages because when people are contributing and when people are looking through your code, it's very easy to get like confused or just like, oh my God, this is like information overload, which is why it's nice to have these shortcuts. I've only like, there's no like, I guess cheat sheet online somewhere. I mean, maybe there is with like common shortcuts for terms. But this is just like my knowledge from like looking at a bunch of GitHub repos and being able to see these shortcuts online somewhere. Yeah, if anyone else has any other like shortcuts that they find interesting, definitely let me know. But those are like the main ones that I've seen. Yeah, so that's git push. And then git pull will be able to download the latest commits from that repo link and automatically merge them into your local branch. It's really important that you use this before pushing if you're going to use it, because that way you can ensure that you're up to date on whatever code branch that you have, and so that it can reduce merge conflicts. Ooh. Conventionalcommits.org. I did not know there was a website for this. There's no way. That doesn't exist. Oh, I didn't spell it right. Let me go back. Oh, this is an actual website. That's insane. Okay, let's take a quick sneak peek. A specification for adding human and machine readable meaning to commit messages. Oh yeah, there it is. Fix, feet, footers, commit message with no body. Oh, this is also, see, this is a good caveat that they've included, that when you're initially developing your project, it might be a little difficult to like do this because you're like working really hard on your code. But that makes sense. After you've already released the product, a lot of people will be looking at your code. A lot of people will be working on your code. So it is very useful to be able to have some consistent commit messages so people can understand what you're doing. Wrong commit type. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Thank you for that, Wei. If anyone's interested in checking out any more conventional commits, definitely make sure you check out that website. It's got a lot of really cool resources. What else? You can also do git fetch. Git fetch will download the latest commits without merging them into your branch. So I think this is kind of in direct contrast to git pull. Git fetch will be able to show you what's new in your remote repo before you merge or update any of your local files. So it's pretty nice. It can show you what the changes are without having you change anything directly. And you can also do git merge and then put the branch name. Like we were talking about, like merging your files is combining the history of another branch into your current branch. The problem with merging though is that sometimes there are merge conflicts. So always check for those. Git will mark any lines that need any fixing, like these are going to conflict with each other. So you should be good for the most part, but always make sure you check. I talked about git status before. So git status is very true to its name. It basically just shows you what's changed, what's staged, and what branch you're on. It's really helpful to run git status as a command because it will help you understand what Git is tracking and what it sees when it tracks your code. Oh, something that's actually really cool that I recently found out. Like sometimes you can't always do Command Z, like once you've committed code. Like sometimes it's like you close it and then you open it and then you won't be able to do Command Z again. So you can actually do git restore and then put the file. So it'll revert that file back to its last committed state, which is super cool. It's like a Control Z, but when Control Z fails. And you can do like git restore index.html and it'll go back to the previous commit version of index.html. But be careful when you're using this because once you restore it, like let's say you make a file, you commit changes, you make another file, or you're editing on that same file, and then you want to go back to the previous version, you should still save your version somewhere. Like even if you're like copying and pasting it into a Google Doc or something, like you should save it somewhere because once you do git restore, you can't go back to your local changes that you didn't save. So make sure you put them somewhere because otherwise they're going to be gone forever. Something really cool that I also found recently, if you use GitHub Copilot and it edits your files, it'll show you like little pluses and minuses and little green and red sections for when it deletes and adds lines of code to your project and like what it deleted and what it added. Something similar to that with a git command that you can do is git diff. Like DIFF, the first 4 letters of difference. And that basically just shows the line-by-line differences between your files that you're currently working on and your last commit. And it's really useful for checking what has changed before you stage your commit. So it's really helpful to see like what different things have changed, what you've done before you actually go for that commit, because it can be quite stressful committing. Well, not, I don't know about stressful. It can just be like worrisome if you commit without realizing what has happened. What else? What else? I think that's mainly it for like beginner GitHub commands. I mean, if anyone else has anything else that they have heard and they would like to know more about, let me know. But I think that's mainly it. The content for this stream was pretty much going to last an hour, but I went a little bit over because I wanted to talk about specifically Git commands. So I went a little bit over, but that's okay. Seems like y'all were interested since you stayed even after the break, which I very much appreciate. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. So I really appreciate everyone coming. If y'all have anything else you'd like me to cover, definitely feel free to let me know. But that's all the like content that I had prepared. I just wanted to go over like what an open source repo is, and specifically what we can use for commands. What's your favorite open source GitHub project? Ooh, I don't know. And why is it okay? That's not my favorite, but it seems like Wei really wants us to go and look at his link. So let's go do that. That is not, this is actually, I don't like this GitHub. I'm not a big fan of this GitHub. That's okay. Seems like Wei likes it. Let's see, share this tab instead. This is Wei's MLH MCP server. If any of you have gone to an MLH hackathon recently or are going to go to one soon, your MLH coach will most likely be running a something GitHub Copilot workshop. I think it's like coding with GitHub Copilot. I forgot the actual name. But it will be a GitHub workshop. And because of Wei, we now have it connected to my MLH's MCP server. So this README helps us a little bit, but this is so excessive. If you don't know what an MCP server is, it basically just helps you get localized data, make an API call to specific data. And the My MLH MCP server basically gets data from your My MLH account, which all of you have since you are on this stream and you most likely have already checked in. So that's what the purpose of an MCP server is. And the MyMLH server gets your MLH information. And you'll see it, but it does link back to the GitHub workshop because we use Copilot to make a README, which someone did do a stream about that. I talked about this earlier, but it was the Supercharger GitHub profile. It was the build a dynamic README. So yeah, there is a good example of an open source project. Yeah. That's pretty much it. If anyone wants to hang around and share their open source projects, I would love to see. This was just a very chill, quick little stream. I usually do a little bit more technical heavy and more program and more hands-on heavy streams. But I wanted to do a basic beginner stream because I think when I started off with GitHub, I had no idea what the commits were. I was quite confused, but hopefully I helped some of you figure it out and get a better understanding of how open source repos work and what common files are. So if you're interested in going to the next stream, we do have one coming up in about 2 hours and 17 minutes. Can you show one project you were personally working on? I like this question. Sure. I honestly don't work on too many, I can't lie. Yeah, I can't lie, I don't work on too many. I'm not as active in the developer community as I would like to be. Yeah, that's my answer. I did commit to my README, but I don't think that's what you were hoping for. Yeah. One of my personal projects, I was working on my portfolio. Oh God, it's back to my face. One of my personal projects was working on my portfolio, but I don't want to show that because it's not good. So sorry to disappoint you, but hopefully I'll have some more time to work on this in the next couple of months after the hackathon rush dies down, and you'll be able to see. Yay! Glad you enjoyed. Thank you for coming, Ethan. Thank you for coming, Tammy. And if y'all are curious, that is the next stream coming up. This is going to be our object tracking with YOLO and deep sort. That sounds really cool. Whoever is running this stream, that sounds like a very technical stream. So if you had a very fun time at this beginner stream and you want to go check out a technical stream, definitely go feel free to do that. This is happening in 2 hours and 16 minutes. And yeah, we've got a couple other streams up this night. On the topic of a couple other streams, that was actually a horrible segue, sorry. If you're interested, I would love to get your feedback from this stream and other streams as well. Everyone sees this feedback. It's helpful for me to, so this feedback gets sent to my managers who then tell me about the feedback. So if there is something you would like to tell me about this stream, that would be a great way to do it. Obviously, you can always just put it in the comments. We can talk about it. But this way, it's all in one place and people get to see your feedback and they also get to hear your feedback about Global Hack Week in general. So not just about the stream, but anything about Global Hack Week, please fill out that feedback link. That's kind of the only way that we can get any feedback from you other than the messages that y'all post in Discord. But yeah, that that's pretty much it. That's all the content I had for today. If anyone else has anything else or any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer any questions they all have in general or about Global Hack Week. I'll hang around for a couple more minutes, play some music while I'm waiting. But otherwise, y'all are free to go. Thank you so much for coming. Had a very fun time. Y'all were very interactive. I love getting to talk to you. So I'm going to turn some music on and just chill out. Feel free to chill out with me, but I'll probably leave in a little bit if nobody has any questions. But thank you, everybody, for coming. Yay! I am glad that you came. Thank you for coming. Yes, I do deserve a good rest. I have a pretty busy day for the rest of the day, but I will sleep at some point today, and when I do, I'm going to have a great rest. So thank you. Yes, thank you for coming. I'm not eligible for the swag, so I'm going to claim it. I would check your daily email that you get, the check-in email. It helps you claim your swag. There's like a form you have to fill out. I would check your email. It has all that information. If you can't find that email, let me know, and then I can go and scout for that information for you. But it is definitely in your daily check-in emails. I don't really know who John is, but okay. There you go. Wei has the answer for you. The swag will be mailed. Yeah, you're right. You do mean swag. Correct. The swag will be mailed to the address you filled out after the event. Yes. So when you filled out your form, like probably when you opened an account, you put in your address. So the swag will be mailed to that address as long as you have completed all of the partner challenges. Just make sure you've done that. Or not the partner, sorry, the featured challenges. I'll hang out for like 1 or 2 more minutes. Chill with some music. I want to try some other music. I see a comment. This is a GitHub repo I came across, and I would love to eventually create my own terminal forms. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Let's check that out. As a beginner. No, don't worry about that. Oh no, sorry. I hit enter. I didn't mean to hit enter. But yeah, that makes sense. It's very hard to start as a beginner, but that's kind of why we actually no, wait, I take that back. I totally take that back. It is not hard to start as a beginner. It is difficult as a beginner, but there are so many resources out there for you to help you out. One of those resources is the Global Hack Week streams. We run a bunch of different streams every single month, all surrounding a new theme that help you build your technical skill. Terminal forms, I don't know if anyone has specifically talked about terminal forms or created those, but maybe they have. Wow, this is a lot of different files. Oh, interactive forms. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Terminal forms are very cool. Ooh, I like that. Bubble tea application. Ooh. Order burgers, separates it into text. Wow, this looks cool. I might check this out. Thank you. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I've never seen this before. This looks very cool. This looks like a great oh, this looks so cool. I think a good way to get into stuff as a beginner, like if you want to do it, I would search up on YouTube like tutorials, because that's how I learned out how to do a lot of stuff. Is like I would want to do something, I wouldn't know how to do it, and I would search up like tutorials on how to do it. So you could search up like how to make terminal form on YouTube, and I'm sure someone has a technical tutorial. Um, ooh, that would be pretty cool. But I don't know how that would work because you'd have to open up your terminal for that. I think it is good as it is, but that does sound like a good idea. And yes, that would be awesome. See, honestly, we have the time. I might as well just go and look and see if I can find you terminal form tutorials. I mean, I'm sure you could find like better results if you Googled, but yeah, a couple of it is just like explaining terminal and like how terminals work and like how the Mac OS terminal works. Um, but yeah, there's definitely a technical tutorial out there somewhere. There are so many people who like really love contributing technical knowledge to the world. That's actually all of our streamers. That's why they stream. But yeah, you definitely, hopefully you'll be able to find this. But this is very cool. Thank you for telling us about this. Yeah, I'll definitely be checking this out. It's not as popular as I thought it would be. Maybe there's like different places. When it says there are 2 and 6 forks of this project, does it mean 2 and 6? Not really. Forks can mean different things. So you can just like click fork, and then you can make a copy of the repo. So yeah, this is a little bit different. When you are putting something locally on your computer, you're cloning it. You're not making a repo, if that makes sense. So you like the only way to take code from someone else would be to like fork it. Like yes, you can clone your own, like you can clone somebody's code into your computer, but if you want to put it back online, forking is the great way to go, because then that way you can create this copy of somebody else's repository, and that way you can have all of their code, but you can't edit their changes. So like if you tried cloning this general repo, it wouldn't be the best idea because you couldn't really push to that because you don't have permissions, and you shouldn't be pushing to that because that's not your project. But it is definitely a good idea to fork because then that way you have the code, but you can still edit through a couple of different things. So 206 people created their own version. They copied the code for this project and tried to edit it themselves for something else. That's what that means. Ooh, you can ask AI. What does that mean? What is Deep Wiki? Oh. AI-powered platform that transforms any public... Oh, interesting. Well, here's a tip for those of you still watching. If you're interested, apparently deepwiki.com uses AI to transform any repo into an easy-to-understand wiki. That could be very useful for you. Don't panic. Okay. I think I am done. I think I've given ample time for y'all to ask questions. If you have any more questions, put them in the Discord, or ask them tomorrow at closing ceremony if you want to see me again. Yes, good. glad you're going to check it out, of course. I'm going to end the stream now. If y'all have any other questions, please let me know. But I'm going to dip. Bye.